Everyone. How are you guys doing? I recognize some familiar faces on the crowd. Hi, Anna. My name is Lily. Welcome to Pitching Better, a workshop to help support underrepresented founders to overcome bias in fundraising. Okay. My name is Lily. I'm part of a very special team at AWS called the Underrepresented Founders Startup Team. So my role was created to support diverse founders building in-house programs, accelerator programs to help support. In my background, I created a program called Sephora Accelerate for Sephora and funded over 65 women founders. And I'm also a former founder, had a small exit. Now also do some angel investment, and I'm gonna pass it to my colleague.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Gorman, and I'm on the Venture Capital Business Development team at AWS, where I get to work with top venture-backed startups and the funds that invest in them. I'm also an angel investor and advisor, and before joining AWS, I was a VC at a fund in Los Angeles and saw tons of early stage deals, diligenced hundreds of companies, and saw a lot of the mistakes that early stage founders were making. We're gonna talk about some of those during this conversation. I also have a background in growth marketing from American Express. So can I get a show of hands? How many of you have felt disadvantaged while fundraising? Okay, seeing some hands. And it doesn't just pertain to fundraising. It could be when you're applying for a job, when you're in an interview, when you're trying to get a promotion. A lot of the tactics you're gonna learn today are applicable to many things, not just the fundraising process. Here's an example of a biased question. Are those sales like real revenue from partnerships or something else? How many of you have seen a version of a question like this where they're putting you on the defensive? They're not letting you promote what's so amazing about your company or your product or who you are, but they're making you defend the essence of why you're there today. That is essentially a biased question, and we're going to dissect how to overcome that bias. So the goal of today's workshop is to demystify the act of pitching. We're going to help you answer questions in the most impactful way possible, and we hope to empower founders to raise more money than they have in previous years. Today's workshop is all based on the work of Professor Laura Huang. She's an HBS professor who spent time studying gender parity in the startup world. And she studied female founders, male founders, and the results that she found were staggering. She's been cited in places that you've probably seen, such as the Harvard Business Review, Scientific American, and many others. What she found is that male-led startups are able to raise 5 times more money than female-led startups in the course of 2 years that she studied them. And she wanted to understand why. What was the reason for this disparity? When we're pitching and when we're interviewing and when we're talking to people about our product or who we are, we assume that people are looking at our product, the market opportunity, the technology, and the business viability. But the research proves that people are drawing perceptions of you when you're speaking. Everyone has biases, and everyone lets those biases impact their reaction to what you're pitching them. Here are 2 examples of questions. On the left side, you'll see promotion questions. These are all about how big can this business get? What's the big vision and what's the dream? It usually asks things in the positive light. Whereas prevention questions are the ones that put you on the defense. They talk about things like safety, security, and responsibility. They ask things in the negative light of how horrible everything could be. So I know, and I'm sure many of this room would rather answer the promotion question. You want to talk about the big vision rather than the prevention question when you're on the defensive. What Professor Laura Huang found is that regardless of gender, if founders were able to answer a prevention question with a promotional answer, they can raise $7.35 million than founders who don't. And so this will hopefully empower you to raise more money than you could have in years past. And now for the rest of this workshop, Lily's going to get tactical on the ways to answer these biased questions.
Sam. Okay. So let's get super tactical. First, we'll go through some questions to identify which ones are biased. Second, we will introduce a framework that you can use to answer these questions. And then for some of these questions, all you need to do is clarify and pivot, and we'll teach you exactly how to do that. So how do you overcome bias? Let's go through the framework. The framework is called RIP, not my favorite acronym, but here are the 3 steps. We'll talk about all these 3 steps in more details later, but on the high level, reclaim means to identify a prevention question and figure out what are they really asking. Inform means you still need to answer the question directly. And don't forget to promote your company. While this sounds intuitive, it's actually not. I work with thousands of underrepresented founders, a lot of female founders, and a lot of them don't promote their company enough. And I understand because I come from a Chinese background, and my parents always said to me, like, don't talk about yourself so much, don't brag about yourself. So it doesn't come natural to me to promote myself or to promote my business. So it's something that I have to rewire in my brain to inform and promote, and something that needs practice. Okay, step 1, reclaim. So the first step is to know how to recognize that you're getting prevention question. Well, how do I even know if the question is biased? Well, 1, you question yourself. Are you on a defense? Are you explaining the essence of your company instead of the goals and vision? Are your investors asked about retention, cost, risk, or loss? These should be keywords that your mind should be going ding, 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 ding. You know, this might be a prevention question. Any questions about risk or cost will put you on a defense. It doesn't really give you the opportunity to showcase your vision or ambition. And I like the analogy of a soccer game. If you're playing soccer, you're always playing defense, you're less likely to score on the goal. Okay. So let's go through some few examples. Don't worry if you get this is a pretty interactive section, and I actually have some swags back in the stage, so I would want the crowd to be interactive with me. And don't worry if you get this wrong. This is meant to be tricky, as I got most of these wrong the first time around. But if you get this question, what is your plan to acquire customers? If you think this is a promotion question, can you raise your hand? 2? Okay. If you think this is a prevention question, raise your hand. This is a promotion question. If you look at this question, it's quite open-ended. What is your plan to acquire customers? It allows you to talk about your vision and your opportunity. How about this question? How would you manage customer acquisition costs? Promotion? Raise your hand. What? None? Okay. Prevention? Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It is, you're right, it's prevention. It's prevention because it assumes that your customer acquisition cost is high. How will you manage, assuming that your customer acquisition cost is high, and you need to de-risk it? If you notice, these 2 questions are pretty similar about customer acquisition costs. The first one gives you a lot more opportunity to speak about the growth and getting to the next level versus the other question. So Danielle, if you're a VC, if you answer this question, I would rather answer the first question rather than the second one. How about this question? How do you plan to capture the market? Promotion? Raise your hand. Okay, I think the crowd's getting it. Yeah, it is promotion because it's giving you the opportunity to talk about how big is that market opportunity. How about this one? How would you compete with market leaders? Promotion? No? None? 1? 2? 3? Okay. What about prevention? Okay. It's prevention. Because you want to talk about how big the market is instead of how you plan to compete. How will you compete with market leaders is already assuming that there's all these market leaders out there and now you have to compete with them. It's actually starting you at a weaker position. And due to Professor Laura Huang's research, a lot of men actually get asked this question, and actually a lot of women and underrepresented founders get asked this question. And so when you get asked that question, less opportunity to land that investment. Okay, your turn. Okay, instead of getting a volunteer, I will just use Danielle. Pretend you own a company that makes robots that specially cleans your toilet, folds your laundry, and puts your baby to sleep.
Okay, sold. I want that robot.
Do you think this is a prevention question? Raise your hand. Or a promotion question. Oh, oops, sorry. The question's, how are you going to market your product in a highly saturated market? Promotion? Prevention. Okay. Do you think it's prevention, Danielle? I know you know the answer.
Well, let's see what it says. Let's see. Let's reveal.
Well, this is a promotion equivalent of the last question. What's your plan to grow to 1 million users? That's the promotion equivalent. That's a better question, right? Yeah. It's promotional because the last one, how are you going to market your product in a highly saturated market, assumes that it's not attainable. And you have to play defense. You're already starting at a weaker position instead of having a chance to talk about that opportunity. This question, a lot more confidence. What's your plan to grow to 1 million users? Is asking, tell me your plan, what's the home run? Describe your growth strategy. This question will land you that investment, not the last one. Now let's talk about step 2, inform and promote. I do teach this workshop to investors, so we do teach them that. So inform is about answering the question and being concise and direct. Clarify if it's not clear, and then back your answer with data and market benchmarks. Promote. This is your chance to brag and sell that vision and be intentional about it. The trick is you need both inform and promote in order for a strong answer. So let's run through an example. All right, Danielle, I'm going to role play with you really quickly. Okay, I'm the VC now, and tell me about your company.
So Any Company is a platform for teachers to build class curriculums using artificial intelligence.
Thank you. Danielle, I read your pitch deck at reInvent, and I still have this one question that's lingering. How will you manage customer acquisition costs?
From our pilot with 2 schools in San Francisco, we were able to sign on 25 teachers without paying for acquisition. We expect our customer acquisition costs to fall around $200 a teacher, and we'll introduce a top-down acquisition strategy rather than selling directly to teachers to drive CAC lower.
Does anybody think this is a good answer? If you think it's a good answer, raise your hand. Oh, everyone thinks it's a bad answer. Yeah,
really,
bad
guys?
Answer? Do you think it's a bad answer?
It's not great. I answered the question too directly, and I didn't use the opportunity to promote something about my business. Any question that a VC asks you is an opportunity to promote. You answer their question directly, and then you use the last part of your answer to tell them something they didn't ask you for, but you want them to know.
Okay, so let's look at the framework. Well, we know it's a prevention question. What are they really asking? What they're really asking is, how do you plan your business? How do you plan to grow your business affordably? So let's dissect the answer. How will you manage customer acquisition costs? Danielle, can you please repeat your answer to me again? I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah, so I really answered it directly. I spoke about the CAC, I spoke about the numbers, and you always want to reference numbers, so that part of the response was good. But I didn't go over the top to actually promote something about my business. So let's see how I would do that. So if I were to actually answer this in front of a VC, I would add this promotion layer. I would say, overall, there's 250,000 school districts in our addressable market, and we believe we can penetrate at least 5% of that market by 2025 with 10 million MRR through co-selling and direct marketing. So if you look at this complete response, I answered directly, and then I told them something they didn't ask about, but I wanted them to know. And It feels natural in the moment because they're not wondering why did that founder, give me extra information. They want all the extra information they can possibly get from you.
Oh, and it doesn't feel natural, right? Like to answer the question and then talk about growth. Well, one thing I want everyone to walk away from this workshop is know that fundraising, if you ever fundraise in the future, it's not a natural process. It's something that you need to. It's not like you're having an intelligent conversation with your boss or your colleague or your friends. It's something that you have to rewire in your brain in the fundraising process to inform and promote, and that takes a lot of practice. So, okay. Let's go through the framework. Hold on, we got this already. So this is another example, but I don't think we have time to go through this. Okay. All right, so now that we went through the RIP framework, you should be able to answer most of the questions better. Here's a tip. There's an optional way of answering some of the prevention questions. You just simply pause, clarify, and ask a promotional question. And that way you totally prevent the prevention question, but don't overdo it. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. VC asked me, how do you plan to defend against new competitors? You pause and you said, are you asking about our competitive advantage and differentiation? And I promise you 9 out of 10 times the investors will say, yes, that's exactly what I'm asking. And then that you're now, instead of playing defense, you're now pivoting the ball to score for the goal. Why you don't want to overdo it? Because you don't want to correct a VC every single time. Okay, last one. Are those sales like real revenue from partnerships or something else? Back to your question, Danielle. Yes. All right. So, well, we recognize this is a prevention question about customer growth and revenue. We want to inform them and say, of course it's revenue. We have partnerships in contracts with 3 hotel chains. But don't stop there. Don't forget to promote and say, and we plan to grow partnership in the next year by 150%, which will allow us to sell directly to 2 million prospective customers. Overall, we believe partnerships will affordably drive our growth for the first 2 years. So don't even bother. I had a founder, this is a real question, by the way, and my founder went down the rabbit hole of explaining why partnerships is real revenue. Don't even bother doing that. Just go straight into talk about the promotional aspects of your business. Okay, so this is from summary. Use RIP for most of the questions, but you can clarify and pivot sporadically. Anticipate prevention questions. Learn what they will look like. There's actually, we usually send out a whole sheet of prevention questions for people to practice and take a look at what they could look like. Don't let prevention questions frustrate you. And what I tell my founders is that when they walk into a lot of the investment meetings, they typically practice a lot on their investment pitch and the questions, but they forget to prepare emotionally. And what I mean by that is be self-aware of the type of biases that you tend to get, and then practice for the answers for those type of questions. And one of my founders, she's a mom, and she get asked the question of, oh, you're a mom, how are you balancing your baby with your startup all the time? And then her answer was actually really surprising. She says, just like how other fathers do it. So I love her answer for that. And then 4, don't just answer a question, inform and promote. Double down on the big potentials of your business. And then practice makes perfect. Write down prevention questions and practice promotional answers. This is a condensed version of our full presentation because we only had 20 minutes, but I would love to invite everyone to actually watch the full presentation at AWS and come talk to us afterwards. Thank you so much.
And and last thing, please fill out this survey in your app. It's really important for us to know real feedback so that we can continue to make this better and bigger next year.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.